If you clicked on this video, you're probably a perfectionist. You want your book to be as good as the published work that you read, but it really shouldn't be. In fact, it should probably be trash.
You know what? Your first drafts are always terrible.
Your goal isn't to write a perfect first draft, it's to finish it so you don't get stuck in endless rewrites. It doesn't matter how good your chapter 1 is if you never get to chapter 2. But here's the big twist. You already know this, because if you've spent even just a little bit of time in the writing advice sphere online, then you've heard this piece of advice over and over and over again. It's common wisdom that your first draft is supposed to suck. The real question is, how do you stop caring? And it's actually quite simple. You just need to give yourself a bigger problem to worry about than whether or not your book is good. And that problem is whether or not you're going to meet your deadline.
No!
By giving yourself a deadline and forcing yourself to meet it, you simply won't have time to be a perfectionist anymore. You won't be able to critique what you wrote yesterday because you'll be too busy trying to meet today's expected quota.
I'm busy. I'm really busy though.
Now, I'm not saying this is the only method that works. Some writers are very successful in chipping away at a document over a long period of time. However, I will say that from personal experience and my experience in coaching writers, most people who write their first draft slowly end up scrapping the project. That's why you have so many writers with dozens of works in progress who never actually get a book done. So if that sounds like you, I think it's worth giving the fast drafting method a try. Seriously, what do you have to lose? Before we get into the main part of this video, here's a quick introduction from me for those of you who are new here. Hi. My name is Mel Torrefranca, and I'm the author and publisher behind Lost Island Press. I published my debut novel back in 2020, and since then I have published 9 more books, some of which were written by myself, and others of which were written by authors that I've brought on board through our Lost Island writing contests. On this channel, I'm exposing everything that I've learned as a writer, publisher, and former ghostwriter.
A writer writing a book about how writers should write books.
And in today's video, we're talking about the 5 steps to follow in order to write your first draft fast. Step 1. Set a deadline. Usually keeping it relatively short is going to make sure that you follow through with it, because it's much easier to stick to an ambitious writing schedule for a month as opposed to 6 months, right? So I usually consider anywhere from 1 to 2 months a sweet spot for setting that deadline. Step 2. Set a word count goal. Now this part is a little bit tricky because you're not going to know exactly how many words your book is going to end up being. So best case scenario, your book is actually quite a bit shorter than your word count goal and you finish it early and you're all good to go by the end of your deadline. Alternatively, if you meet your deadline and you still have a little bit left to go, you can just extend your deadline and say, okay, I'm gonna give myself 2 weeks to finish off the story, or 1 week to finish off the story. Even though there's a bit of unpredictability as to how long your book is going to be and if you're going to need a little bit of extra time, I still think it's so important to set an initial word count goal and deadline. So this is going to be based on how long you expect your book to be. So before filming this video, I did a little bit of research and I put together a table with some general word counts based on genre and age group. So feel free to pause this video here and take a look at the table. I thought it'd be helpful for those of you who might not be too familiar with how long books generally are. Obviously, there is so much variety when it comes to book length. A lot of middle grade books can even be much longer than the ones I've added in this table. This is just a ballpark range. I also have this other table which breaks down some common books and their associated word counts. Let's say you want to write a book about the length of the Hunger Games, we'll just check it out in this table. So I have a few popular titles there, so you can pause here and give that a look too. Step 3. Set up a tracking method. So this could be your own system, like maybe you have a notebook where you keep track of the word count for every session over the period of time, or you can use a platform that's already created for it. This video is not sponsored. I was genuinely looking for a solution a few days ago because I am in the middle of drafting a book now, and I've realized I've been quite slow with it, and I need to follow my own advice. So I was looking for a way to track my daily word count. NaNoWriMo used to do this, but if you've been in the writing space, you know that they've shut down, and so I was looking for a replacement for them, and I discovered a website called Pacemaker. They have a free plan, so all you need to do is create an account and you'll be able to use this tracking feature for yourself. Simply click create a plan and then enter all of the details about your project, the deadline, and how many words you'd like to write by the end of that deadline. They also have an option for your starting word count goal, which is perfect if you want to start the fast drafting method on a project that you've already been working on for some time. You can also choose different writing strategies, which is really cool. I recommend using either steadily or biting the bullet. Biting the bullet is really interesting, and I'm thinking about using it for myself because it front loads a lot of the work. And that can be a great option if you tend to be a person who gets really excited and writes a lot in the beginning and then kind of slows down after that. I love how you can customize your days off and really tailor it for your specific schedule. Now, obviously these features are great, but it's not just for the convenience of it. I genuinely think that having a tracking system like this works really well psychologically. Having a way to visualize your progress in a graph is surprisingly motivating. So if you haven't tried tracking your progress visually, I highly recommend it. Like I said, you can find ways to track your progress yourself, like in a notebook or bullet journal or with your own spreadsheet and graph system if you're tech savvy, but if you just want a simple solution that does it all for you, I highly recommend Pacemaker. I'll have a link to them in the description below. Step 4. Find ways to reduce friction. So now you have a deadline and a word count goal for that deadline. Now I want you to sit down and think about all of the things that could potentially get in your way. If you have a sporadic schedule and can't really designate a specific hour of the day to work on your book, maybe you need to replace your scrolling on social media during breaks with working on your book and get the word count in that way. Or if your schedule is pretty lenient but you get distracted easily, maybe you need to designate a specific time to write every day, even if that's not something that you typically do. If your phone usually distracts you from writing, maybe you need to put your phone in a different room during your writing sessions. In addition to eliminating potential problems, we can also brainstorm ways that can make the writing process more fun. So maybe for the next month or two of your challenge, you're going to have a nice favorite tea or coffee on your desk whenever you're working. Maybe you're going to listen to your favorite focus music. I know it sounds kind of silly, but believe me, little things like this can make a huge difference. Step 5. Hold yourself accountable. Nobody really cares whether you finish your book or not. Yes, you will probably let yourself down if you don't meet that goal, but that's a pretty common thing to do. I set deadlines for things all the time that I don't meet. Okay, whatever, I'll finish it next week. But this isn't just a tiny little task. Writing a book is a huge feat. You don't want to give yourself that same leniency here. Having a way to hold yourself accountable is going to be a massive motivator, massive fear-based motivator, and it's kind of a hack. Most people don't like being seen as a failure. You can pretty much engineer social consequences by telling as many people as possible about your goal, posting it on social media, and just being loud to everyone about what you plan to accomplish. You're giving yourself some social stakes. You want to keep your reputation up. You want to be embarrassed if you don't meet your goal. So in conclusion, here are the 5 steps to follow in order to finish your first draft fast. 1. Set a deadline. 2. Set a word count goal. 3. Set up a tracking method. 4. Plan ways to reduce friction. And 5. Hold yourself accountable. As a little challenge, I want you to leave an accountability comment below. Let me know what you're working on, when your deadline is, and how many words you plan to write. Bonus points if you come back to this video and update everyone on whether or not you've met your goal. Following my own advice, I'll go first. I'm currently co-writing a soft sci-fi novel with Laurel Glenn O'Brien called Cabin 5. We've been plotting out the story for about a year now, and we're finally diving into the first draft, as of a couple of weeks ago. However, I've been kind of slow with working on my designated chapters, and so I've decided that I want to use this fast drafting method to get out of my rut. My goal is to hit 50,000 words for the chapters I'm responsible for by the end of August, and I'll come back to this video on September 1st to update my comments and let you know how it went. And now it's your turn. Leave a comment right now. By the way, in case you missed my recent announcement, Lost Island Press is taking on at least one new author. We're opening up submissions during a writing contest later this year, starting on October 1st. So if you're planning to use this fast drafting method to finish your book, this could even be an opportunity for you to get published. I'll link the full video up there. And as a final note, don't forget to join the Lost Island Press newsletter if you haven't already. That's where I share all kinds of behind-the-scenes publishing updates, community surveys, and collaboration opportunities. Plus, you'll get a free ebook of my soft sci-fi novel Capsule as a welcome gift. Anyways, that's all for today's video. Until next time, get lost.